Welcome to day 2 of the course. Today we're going to look at the history of feminism, in particular the waves model, which is sometimes used to describe feminist history. Now, the waves model is somewhat problematic, but it's in the title of this class, so we're going to address it. My videos for today will mostly cover the waves and the shortcomings of the waves, though I'm also going to talk some about the terminology of feminist as a political term. We'll look at the way that people are excluded by the wave model, as well as the contributions that a diverse group of women have made. And we're going to end with the question, what is the third wave? Which is obviously in the title of this class. Today is a lot simpler than yesterday. There's just 2 things to do, and this is going to be the regular schedule for every day. First, you're going to do some number of reading responses. 1 to 2 will keep you up in time with the course, although you don't have to do any. You can do 3 if you wish to. You'll find the readings under the Content tab. And also you're going to contribute your virtual presence. So as before, you're going to comment on other people's responses, join in on the forums, and so forth. The first reading for today is Ain't I a Woman? This is a famous reading by Sojourner Truth. Sojourner Truth was a woman who was born in a situation where she was enslaved by a white person. She escaped along with her daughter, went to court, got her son out of enslavement. She was an important thinker during the first wave, that's the 19th century feminist movement, and this idea of Ain't I a Woman, which is so perfectly encapsulated in her speech there, has become very important to feminist history and feminist thought. It's the title of Bell Hooks' first book, significantly. So the questions to think about while you watch this video and the video that follows is, why is this question important to contemporary feminism? And then, how are class and race intersecting in Truth's speech? How is she responding to class and race viewpoints of womanhood? And this brings us to Laverne Cox, which is the second speech, same title, obviously referencing Sojourner Truth's speech. Sojourner Truth's speech here is in the video is performed by Kerry Washington, who is of course the star of Scandal, the Shonda Rhimes show, and Laverne Cox, of course, is an actress, a trans woman who is an actress on Orange is the New Black, and we'll be watching an episode featuring her later. The second article is Becoming the Third Wave. This was written by Rebecca Walker, who is the daughter of Alice Walker, author of The Color Purple, who is an important second wave figure. And this generational difference is actually very symbolic of the second to the third wave. The third wave is often thought of as being started by the daughters, both figuratively and literally, of second wave feminists. It's written in response to the Clarence Thomas hearings. Clarence Thomas, for those of you who don't know, is a very conservative African-American male Supreme Court justice. At the time this was written, he was being proposed as a justice. He was going through confirmation hearings in the Senate. And during these hearings, a woman, Anita Hill, who had been a clerk for him, came forward and said that he had sexually harassed her. And so for African-American women like Rebecca Walker, on the one hand, as she says here, you had the spectacle of yet another black man being accused of not being able to control his sexuality by a 99% white Senate, and on the other hand, you had yet another woman who had been sexually harassed, not being taken seriously, being slut-shamed, being ignored. So that was definitely what she was thinking about, as she says when she writes here. A couple of pieces of vocabulary here. She talks about the backlash. That's the response to the second wave, where there was a movement of anti-feminism to try and undermine the progress that had been made during the second wave. She also talks about post-feminism. She rejects the term post-feminism, and that was the idea that feminism had happened, it had completed, the women's rights movement was over, and people now were post-feminists. Their feminism was no longer a necessary political identity. And just a note on content, in this piece there are descriptions of Rebecca Walker's experience of misogyny, including some very sexist language. Some questions to think about. What is Walker's definition of feminism? Why are the 2 incidents she describes important to Walker? Why do they matter to her? And why is it important that the third wave is embodied? She ends the piece by saying, "I am the third wave." What does that mean? The final piece for today is everything about feminism you always wanted to ask. It's from Bitch Magazine, which is a reclaimed term in use here. It's an introduction to many different feminisms, to the idea that within feminism there are many different women who have many different viewpoints. You shouldn't worry about picking up all of the details. There's a lot of details in this, a lot of names, a lot of terminology. The important thing to get is the overall sense of these broad movements within feminism. The first is liberal feminism, also known as mainstream feminism. The second thing that she talks about a fair amount here is anti-feminism, some of the responses, the backlash to feminism. Then she talks about radical feminism and some of the things that come under that. She also talks about the porn wars. This is an important incident in feminist history that really marks the end of the second wave and in some ways sets the stage for the third wave. It takes place roughly in the 1980s. And then she talks about the third wave and some of the variety within that. So that concludes our readings for today. I hope you appreciate this video. It was a lot shorter than yesterday's, and we will see you for day 3.